I saw this bit with Kamala Harris. It's really, really rough. Monday, on a 60 Minutes election special, Bill Whitaker asks Vice President Kamala Harris if the U.S. lacks influence over American ally, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. God, that's so true. And the answer is yes. Completely, like, off the leash with this one.
We supply Israel with billions of dollars in military aid. Mm-hmm. And yet, Prime Minister Netanyahu seems to be charting his own course. The Biden-Harris administration has pressed him to agree to a ceasefire. He's resisted. You urged him not to go into Lebanon. He went in anyway.
Look at her face, dude. She's like, come on, man. You know I can't answer this. You know I can't answer this. Come on.
He has promised to make Iran pay for the missile attack, and that has the potential of expanding the war. Does the U.S. have no sway over Prime Minister Netanyahu?
Oh, and this is how Whitaker looks here, by the way. And I know he generally looks like this, but he just looks so stately. Look at how good he looks, man. He looks like you know who he looks like? He looks like Commissioner Gordon. Not like any specific actor playing him, but like the idea of Commissioner Gordon. I like his stash. You know, he's got a fantastic stash. 100%, yeah. DEI Gordon. You know who DEI Gordon is? DEI Commissioner Gordon is when they make him white. Don't step to me.
The aid that we have given Israel allowed Israel to defend itself against 200 ballistic missiles
200.
That were just meant to attack the Israelis and the people of Israel. And
as opposed to ballistic missiles that, like, aren't used to attack people. Also, how many billions of dollars for a few missiles? 200? Jesus. How many missiles has Israel launched?
When we think about the threat that Hamas, Hezbollah presents, Iran, I think that it is without any question our imperative to do what we can to allow Israel to defend itself against those kinds of attacks.
I'm so sick of the euphemism. I'm so sick of hearing over and over again they should be allowed to defend themselves. No one is stopping Israel from defending themselves. That's the point. They're not like Ukraine, where without our support they would crumple and fold immediately. Israel, without our support, would still be extremely capable of defending themselves. I'm not even to say, by the way, that they should be allowed to at all. Like, I'm not even talking about like a more substantive critique of Israel. I'm just talking like the idea that they rely on us to defend themselves. Maybe they rely on us in order to like continue this war effort, but to defend themselves, no. And with no conditions. Yeah, literally no strings attached money. When do we give no strings attached money to like anyone? You know, when we provide foreign aid to other countries, we usually do so under like humanitarian conditions. With Ukraine, there were a bunch of conditions and like requests and hemming and hawing and so on. But with Israel, just $50 bajillion all the time, no questions asked, no strings attached. Polite requests made, maybe, but nothing beyond that.
Now, the work that we do diplomatically with the leadership of Israel is an ongoing pursuit around making clear our principles, which include the need for humanitarian aid, the need for this war to end, the need for...
exactly. No, whimsical, you're right. We don't even provide unconditional aid to Americans for American programs, like welfare-wise. We don't even like do no strings attached money to our own citizens. It's insane. It's insane. I know that a lot of people watching this, I have to repeat this every time because a lot of people are genuinely curious and a lot of people I feel like are kind of susceptible to conspiratorial thinking on this. There's nothing conspiratorial here, right? AIPAC has a lot of reign in the US, in large part because a broad coalition of right-wing business interests, military-industrial complex interests, the Republican Party, and yes, Zionists, Jewish or Christian, have folded into it like a whole bunch of statements and beliefs and preconditions that ostensibly are about defending Israel, but in reality are about using that as a front to advance right-wing interests. And because it's bundled up under the like virtue signal of being pro-Israel, it's very difficult for even Democrats to attack it. To give you an example, right? Like AIPAC hasn't even spoke out against Mark Robinson yet, have they? The black Nazi, North Carolina gubernatorial candidate, loves pissing, that guy. So even people who openly like praise Hitler, the AIPAC doesn't go after them. If you think they're sincerely some kind of like Jewish control org, I've got a bridge to sell you, man. I've got a bridge that's 10 feet underwater in North Carolina to sell you. It's purely just like the right wing like funding block, and they use, because it's a lot easier to sell the right-wing funding block as like a pro-Israel thing or a pro-Jewish thing than it is to go like, yeah, this is the pro-racism pack. Sure, that'll sell with some people, but it's a little bit easier, and you get Democrats like being unable to attack you, because now the Democrats open themselves up to being accused of anti-Semitism if they attack AIPAC, which is bullshit. AIPAC is itself anti-Semitic, of course. The right wing is anti-Semitic as a front. But anyway, that's the gist of it, just to be clear, you know? It's the whole thing is a stupid little naming. It's the exact same reason that you'll get like a bill, the point of a bill is like to increase police funding, and they'll call it like the Save American Babies Act or something. It's just, oh, you're anti-saving American babies when you just don't want $50 trillion to go to cops. It's just that. It's just that stupid game over and over and over again.
A deal to be done, which would release the hostages and create a ceasefire. And we're not going to stop in terms of putting that pressure on Israel and in the region, including Arab leaders.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including
unimaginable weakness. What is the point of being a superpower? Yeah, we may have given them $50 bajillion with no strings attached, but also like our pressure, which has amounted to nothing, has achieved, you know, something. Look at her body language when she says this.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements
like me when Biden has been championing the idea of pushing for a ceasefire for a year now and nothing has happened
in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy.
She sounds like she's the president of Myanmar or something. That's not even a joke. Like genuinely, the way like the way American leaders talk about Israel, the way Kamala Harris right now is talking about Israel, it's like we're not even a superpower. Like we're not even a regional power. We're just like you know, we're just like oh yeah, well, we're trying our best
for what needs to happen in the region.
Do we have a real close ally in Prime Minister Netanyahu?
I think, with all due respect, the better question is, do we have an important alliance between the American people and the Israeli people?
Insanely revealing answer. Insanely revealing answer. How could you go this far to placate someone who's so openly antagonistic to our interests that you can't even pretend that he's an ally? In 1996, Bill Clinton famously said after meeting Netanyahu, who's the superpower here? Yeah, because Netanyahu has always been a grimy fascist. He always has been. He's always been a piece of shit. It's just that previous leaders were more aware of that. Bill Clinton didn't like him. Obama didn't like him. W didn't like him. No one likes Netanyahu, except for apparently Biden. Biden is the most cucked any American leader has ever been to Netanyahu, to Israel, because he's ideologically a Zionist. Bosch, the point of being a superpower is to control Black, brown, and Muslim countries. I understand there is a bias there, and I'm acknowledging that fact, but we would exercise way more control over any other country on earth. Like, we wouldn't even do this shit for England. Like, we're not giving England a $50 bajillion, no strings attached, for nothing. Like, it's like, this is a very specifically toxic relationship. Trump likes him, right? Well, Trump's an idiot. Trump will like anyone who praises him. Netanyahu likes Trump because Trump will allow Netanyahu to do literally anything that he wants, because Islamophobia is a huge component. Okay, so let's like center this again. Thank you so much, whoever linked this. You've linked it multiple times. You were so right to. Let's center this once again with like a comparison, a little bit of a contrast with the Republican Party, okay? Let's see. For as bad as Kamala Harris is on this, let's see how Republicans are on this.
You can thank Donald Trump and Elon Musk for that.
But look,
You know, I've been going all over South Carolina like most people. I hadn't slept much. But look what's going on in Israel. Our friends in Israel are surrounded by people that want to kill them, destroy them, a second Holocaust in the making. And Biden says, be proportional. What is the proportional response to people who want to kill you and your family?
God.
They're running out of ammunition. And
In a segment that was about the devastation in North Carolina, he was literally like, okay, yeah, but what about Israel? We need more money for Israel.
Israel, we have to help our friends to keep the war over there from coming here.
They're willing to. You can thank
yeah,
Donald Trump and Elon
God
Musk for
bless
that.
you, but
Literally, it's yeah, from coming here. Yeah, it's literally. He also mistakenly said South Carolina. Yeah, because he doesn't give a shit. Like, you know, his APAC handler told him, like, you have to bring up Israel during this upcoming, you know, Hannity interview. And again, if you think any of this has anything to do with Jews, again, I've got a bridge to sell you, okay? Like, yeah, Lindsey Graham, these like far-right fascists who are constantly spreading anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. What's the grand unifying theory there, you know? Jews and Nazis together for Jewish supremacy? Come on. It's just a right-wing bloc. That's it. Another $50 trillion to Israel. Blows my mind the media doesn't talk about Netanyahu's history with Holocaust denialist rhetoric. Well, the kind of people who like Netanyahu also tend to be friends with Holocaust deniers, so... Literally, all we have to do is point to Israel's sterling endorsement of apartheid South Africa. They try to sell them nukes. It's an evil country. It's an evil country. Israel's it's a uniquely evil country because it's an ongoing settler colonial project. Unlike a lot of other countries that have really bad like leadership or who have like cultures that propagate really, really bad ideas, Israel was like, what if we took the worst elements of essentially the Western world and we congregated them all in like one ideological force? And it's essentially just old world colonialism, you know? What if like all these like elements of civilization building that we mostly left behind in the 19th century, what if we just did it again now, but now we have like smartphones, you know? Modern day Rhodesia, that's it. What if Rhodesia never like lost the support of the British government, right? Like, you know, it's literally just that. It's not, it's the population of Israel, as was discussed the last time this came up, is also uniquely bad. So many of them are pro-genocide, like genuinely any polling of the Jewish population in Israel, like it's insane how Hitlerite they are. Why is that? Because a lot of the Jews in Israel are Jews who lived in Europe or America or whatever, who came over to be the front line of a settler colonial project. They're not just like random people, you know? They're not like, you know, like just like they're just like, you know, a random sample or selection. A lot of them came over to be a part of the project, and I'm pretty sure most of them are actually from other parts of the Middle East. I'm not sure about the exact proportion or ratio. A significant number of the Jewish residents of Israel came over within their lifetime to be a part of the settler colonial project. Also, keep in mind, so did a lot of the diaspora from other parts of the Middle East, right? Like, that doesn't necessarily absolve them ideologically. They went from being an underclass in a different country, in a lot of cases, to being able to, like, turn it around. It's just a bad project, man. Here's a good example. 47% of Israeli Jews want to expel Arabs from the country. Yeesh. Pew study finds 79% believe Jews should get preferential treatment over Arab citizens. This is from 2016, too. 61% believe Israel was given by God to the Jewish people. Hey, guys, it's the 21st century. Maybe we can move past the, like, God gave me this land bit. Most Americans don't rep that anymore, you know? For the most part, Americans are just like, yeah, USA, USA. You don't really have people running around even Republicans, for the most part, aren't running around screaming shit like God gave us this land. It's just outdated. It's just old. It's old. I'm not F3. This is how cucked we are. Biden tells Israel to not strike nuclear facilities in Iran. Israel just openly told the Defense Department they can't make promises. Yeah, I don't want to be like an American chauvinist or anything, but I think that if we're giving you billions in free weapons and you tell our Defense Department that you can't make promises to the requests we make of you, you should be regime changed. I'm sorry. I can't believe this shit, man. Macron is stopping weapons to Israel. Well, that's nice, at least. Macron calls for arms sale ban on Israel as Gaza war nears a year. Yep, tomorrow is the 1-year anniversary of October 7th, the event that I don't know what it is. 65% of Israeli Jews believe the IDF soldiers who raped Palestinians in prison should not face criminal charges. Yeah, to be clear, guys, there are no questions whether or not those IDF members, the people. It's on video. So 2/3 of Israeli Jews full on think like you can Arabs, and that's fine. Like, that's how bad this country, like, that's how sick this country is. That's why, like, it's not just Netanyahu that has to go. It's the whole project. Israel as a project, we're just building like Hitler too. That's it. You can't fix that. Can you clarify what you mean by the whole project? The settler colonial project of Israel. Israel in its state, like in this form of Israel, you know? Yeah, you need like a factory reset of it. I don't think you can like dissolve Israel and just return Palestine to its former borders, because like logistically that's just not really that feasible. But like the project in its current form, the idea of Israel as a like God-given Jewish state, that shit, no. I'm sorry, it's not working. It's not working, man. Ethno-states are a bad idea from the get-go, and here's your evidence. We give you effectively like Western culture in the Middle East and all the weapons in the world to defend yourself, so there's no legitimate fear of being destroyed by your neighbors. You are freed from the legitimate fear of being destroyed by your neighbors. And what happens? You just turn into Nazi Germany too. It's not good. Oh yeah, the French hate to give up their colonial projects, Massagui. They kind of didn't, you know? The fact that Israel hasn't reported casualties in Lebanon for the past few days. I mean, how do you report casualties in an area where the bombs are still falling? No, I mean IDF soldier casualties. They're not reporting soldier deaths, but they also haven't made much land advancements. I mean, I hope it turns into a meat grinder for them. You know, Israel can't just do whatever it wants. The IDF is, as far as I can tell, heavily ideologically run and full of morons. Like, judging by how poorly they've managed the Gaza Strip with modern weapons, with a modern massive military and American-made weapons, they've still taken like an entire year dicking about in the Gaza Strip when like competent military. Look at how quickly the Gulf War ended. You know? Yeah, it's a bunch of mandatory service 19-year-old fascists hopped up on the promise that they can kill and their own Arabs, you know? I don't think they're very competent, and evidence suggests they're not competent. The mythology of like Krav Maga being the ultimate martial art and IDF soldiers being uniquely well-trained is total like propaganda bullshit. It's propaganda directly out of Israel in a lot of cases. You know, it's not, I don't think it's necessarily representative of reality. Certainly not now. So if they're not reporting their own soldiers' casualties, hopefully that's because Hezbollah provides like, you know, effectively holds the line. I don't know how well they will. I mean, it's still the IDF. They're very large, but... Well, Massagui, it makes sense, right? Like, the people in there are probably being promoted based on ideological allegiance, less so than competence. Of course, Soli. They have to use insurgency tactics. The IDF soldiers are incompetent. Emma Vigeland had an expert on the other day who talked about how they marched an entire special forces squad into a booby trap house and lost every single one of them. Sucks to suck. Did you not say before that if the eyes of the world weren't on Israel, they could just obliterate Gaza in like 48 hours? Sure, if they just used their weapons, right? If there were no concerns from the rest of the world and Israel was operating in a bubble, every single Arab in the Gaza Strip would be dead right now. It would just be like an ocean of blood spilling into the Mediterranean. The only thing that's stopping that is like the barest vestige of sense that there are some limits when you're under international scrutiny like this. It's a lot harder to clear out an area when you're trying to not kill everyone, you know. Even the IDF could manage to liquidate the Gaza Strip if they were able to, if they wanted to. But the project of like, you know, removing Hamas while not killing all the civilians, that's a little more complicated. Still, their incompetence is evident in how they've handled this. Is Hezbollah going to operate like the Viet Cong? I mean, in terms of like being an insurgency, I imagine, but not in any other senses. Like they're not going to march in formation, you know, like a platoon of Hezbollah and all like take crack shots with a rifle. Did you see Israel bombed a French gas company station in Beirut? I did not see that. Wonder if that's why Macron is mad. The single biggest attack of Israel's assault on Beirut so far. Not even any, like, casualty estimates. The weekend's intense bombardment came just ahead of the anniversary of the October 7th attack? I'm just hearing about this for the first time. Hey, Vosh, I'm an Arab Israeli. I'm so sorry. And I can't tell you from previous history if this continuous, more inside attacks will continue like the one that happened today in Beersheba. Border cop killed 10 wounded in terror shooting attack at Beersheba Central Bus Station. Terrorist opened fire at McDonald's. Gunman was Israeli citizen and relative of perpetrator of 2015 attack inside same bus station. Guess there's a genetic propensity for that. So wait, who was the shooter? Ahmad al-Ukbi. I wonder if they were Arab. Yeah, stuff like this is just going to keep happening. I mean, what do you expect? You're openly engaging in a campaign of genocide against Arabs, and you have an apartheid state against Arabs. Like, yeah, it's going to create resentment in Arabs. Like, French gas company getting bombed. Oh, we even have video of it. Israel has targeted French multinational company Total Energies gas station in Oh. I don't know if I necessarily trust this Twitter source. Did it really happen after Macron said that he wants to ban aid to Israel? Why does this specific conflict always get drowned in historical or policy terms? Like, it always feels like people who downplay Israel's actions try to make it seem so complicated. Yeah, it's the informed simplicity thing. Like, it's such an easy conflict to read, morally speaking. Israel is a fascist apartheid ethno-state with a fascist war cabinet and a largely fascist population, to be clear here. It's not like they're all victims being pulled along for this. In a sociological sense, I mean, we're all victims of the, environmental influences and so on and so on. But, like, it's not like it's just the leadership or whatever. Bombing like 4 adjacent countries, getting infinite money from the US for nothing. Like, it's so moral. It's like, it's so clear. Israel blew up a Canadian-built water plant in Gaza after Canada stopped weapon shipments a few weeks back. Israel would bomb the White House if they could get away with it, and if Biden stopped sending them weapons. They really do not give a shit. They're fascist ethno-nationalists who literally, like, a lot of them literally think they're God's chosen. I don't think the average Jewish person genuinely thinks they're God's chosen. First of all religious people think they're God's chosen. That's what it means to follow the religion. Second of all, I don't think most Jewish people genuinely hold that, like, to any meaningful degree of sincerity, I guess, because it's a pretty heavy belief to hold. A lot of the Jews in Israel do. They literally think they're God's chosen. They're waging a holy war. A lot of Jews don't believe in God. I grew up all around American Jews, and what's that joke? Oh man, who told it? I wish I remembered it. I think I heard it on Chapo Trap House or something, where it was like the guy, a Protestant goes to a priest to apologize for having committed sin and get such and such, and a Catholic man goes to a Catholic priest and apologizes for having done such and such, and then a Jewish man goes to a rabbi to apologize to God for having done such and such, and the rabbi is like, "You believe in God? What are you, a kid?" or something like that. I don't know. There was a whole bit to it. I remember this joke. It's better when you remember the joke. It's a good bit though. Yeah, I don't know, funny rhetorician. No, Emma Gold, dude. I can't imagine so. I don't know. Like, you're just going to have to reconcile what you believe. The idea of, like, whether or not Israel is an apartheid ethno-state, though, is, like, pretty laughably easy to settle. You can engage in, like, I don't know, definitional p-hacking. I mean, you can be like a pedant and be like, all right, well, technically, a genocide by the UN terms of da-da-da, it's not ambiguous. Any, like, hemming and hawing and wheedling that you could do with this, you could have with equal measure done to the Germans and their treatment of Jews in, like, the early 1930s. Like, genuinely. It's like, are you here to, are you here to, like, argue, or are you here to identify moral wrong and seek to correct it, Because you can always argue about the fringe definitions of anything, right? Is America capitalist? Is it a mixed economy? Is it socialist? Was Nazi Germany fascist? I know that sounds like a kind of obviously answered question, but doesn't fascism require total sublimation to the state, whereas the German government actually permitted several business magnates to do trade overseas, even with potential enemies? Like, wouldn't that indicate that they weren't totally committed to the precepts of fascism? Well, okay, again, are you trying to seek meaning here, or are you trying to, like, remove meaning by through pedantry, effectively? Israel is an apartheid ethno-state. It's not exactly an unpopular opinion, but don't, like, litigate. Don't like proxy argue between me and Lonerbox or whatever. Lonerbox is an astute and intelligent person who, on many matters, I imagine, specifically these, disagrees with me. It's your job to, if you want to watch me and him and come to your conclusions. Not like, can you argue it out? We should have never allowed Israel to have nuclear weapons. No, we shouldn't have. In the long arc, Israel is probably more dangerous to world peace than even Russia is. Russia is obviously, like, untrustworthy, armed with nuclear weapons, invaded Ukraine, so on and so forth. But at least there's a clear oppositional line defined there, and Russia has demonstrated for years, decades now, that it's capable of existing on the other side of that line without, like, literally going nuclear. I genuinely feel like Israel they'd hit the big red button if the war ever turned against them, you know? Or if we ever stopped, like, supporting them and things turned badly or whatever. It's so unstable, and we've done nothing but contribute to that instability. We're still not evacuating people out of Lebanon, even as suburban apartment blocks are getting leveled in Beirut. It's important to note the pattern of bombing. Israel has shut down 3 hospitals in Lebanon by nonstop bombing them. Wonder why they keep targeting hospitals. Well, even though southern Lebanon is pretty much, like, entirely controlled by Hezbollah, and Hezbollah has the ability to, you know, dig bunkers and tunnels and networks and have whole facilities, I'm sure all these hospitals are, like, secretly Hezbollah bases. Just gonna get it over and over and over. The Apollo affair. Oh yeah, when Israel allegedly stole our enriched uranium. U.S. company Numec investigated for losing 200 to 600 pounds of highly enriched uranium, which suspicions that it had gone to Israel's nuclear weapons program. The FBI investigated Zalman Shapiro, president of Nuclear Materials and Equipment Corporation, over the loss of 206 pounds of highly enriched uranium. He was a longtime Zionist. He had business interests and contacts among high government officials in Israel, including a contract to build nuclear-powered generators for Israel. The Atomic Energy Commission, Central Intelligence Agency, other government agencies, and inquiring reporters conducted similar investigations. No charges were ever filed. I lose highly enriched uranium all the time. True. Anyway, it was never actually, like, conclusively determined. Suspiciously 600-pound lump of uranium in my throat. They defo attacked the USS Liberty, though. Well, yeah, of course. Remember the Liberty? People really, like, overstate the Liberty thing, you know? Like, yeah, it's a settler colonial project. Yeah, the IDF has always been, like, full of lunatics because they literally joined the military of a settler colonial project for a nation that is founded on the principle of ethno-nationalism and the belief in their being chosen by God. Did they attack the USS Liberty, like, deliberately? I don't know, probably, because they were, like, assholes. It's just, I guess this is, like, the least compelling of the stuff they've done. Like, oh, they attacked a U.S. ship. We're America. We can handle a ship being attacked, okay? Like, to me, the USS Liberty has always been, like, kind of an anti-Semitic dog whistle, because if you actually gave a shit about the bad that Israel's done, there's a litany of evidence of all the bad they've done, and them attacking, like, one ship attacking the USS Liberty, like, maybe it was an accident or whatever, like, who cares? What is the relation? Like, who cares? 60 years ago, some guys attacked us and it was maybe an accident. I don't know. It seems to me like the admission there is that you only care about Israel is the perceived harm that they do to America and not, like, the world, you know? The point is that they're not our allies in any way. You can't make that statement based on something that happened 60 years ago. Like that to me is where the anti-Semitism comes up a little bit. What do you mean they? Like, the Israeli people or government today, because the ship 60 years ago, that, like, would we use that as evidence then that, like, it's impossible for America to ever have a genuinely positive relationship with, like, any country ever if any accident or non-accident, or, like, our soldiers just did, like, a war crime or something? I don't know. It's just, like, a weird one to me. I just never given a shit about the Liberty. In fairness, wasn't it Nazis blowing up merchant ships that got you to fight in the European theater? I don't understand what the relationship is here. The question is whether or not Israel is loyal based on what happened 60 years ago, not like, do you defend yourself against deliberate declarations of war and attacks on our ship? There's no relationship here. Also, what is it with the obsession of loyalty? Israel doesn't have to be loyal to the US. They're a different country. That's not what loyalty is. This, to me, has always been an anti-Semitism thing. Because we're loyal to them. No, we shouldn't misuse that language, okay? Loyalty, there are very specific connotations here. It's one of the reasons why the dual loyalty thing is like an anti-Semitic trope, you know? There are many instances where attacks on American ships led to war or military actions, and there are instances where it didn't. Also, what are you insinuating that like America's cucked to Israel because 60 years ago we didn't declare war on it because one of our ships got attacked in what they claimed was an accident? That's insane. I don't even understand the implication of what you're suggesting. It wasn't an accident? Okay. I don't understand what you're saying. There were so many attacks on American ships during the war. Yeah. Literally, like, if you want to look at records of, like, every time ostensibly allied nations attacked one another over, like, maybe accident, maybe it was, like, a deliberate one, a deliberate attack. Like, it was also literally an intelligence ship that was running totally silent, monitoring communication. I mean, to me, it's just, like, you can literally look at examples of that happening all the time, of, like, random fire being traded between countries that aren't at war. You don't declare war over that. Are you insane? I feel like the implication, because what a lot of people do is like, oh, it indicates Israel isn't loyal to us. For one, they're a different country. Loyalty isn't a thing countries can do. That's not what countries do. They have like interests, like was said earlier in chat. For two, why would it be in Israel's interest to like direct their soldiers to randomly attack an American intelligence ship and then like say it was an accident? Why? What's the point of that? Third, if it wasn't the government, but it was like the soldiers there being insane or like making a mistake or whatever, is the implication that America should have declared war on Israel over that? Because I feel like some people are either saying like, well, Israel's either being disloyal to us or we're being cucked to them by not attacking them back. False flag? Why would it be a false flag? Why would America destroy its own ship using Israeli what? That doesn't make sense. You're just saying things. Egypt, the conspiracy is that they were going to frame Egypt. Okay. I just don't understand this. The conspiracy claim was that Israel's attack was supposed to make the US think Egypt had attacked them, then retaliated before the dust settled. Okay. That'd be like a pretty shitty thing to do. Have you talked about the hurricane yet? It'd be preferable to talking about this. Jesus Christ. Yeah, remember the USS Liberty is a phrase that I exclusively associate with Nazis. If you have problems with Israel, the idea of deferring to like a 60-year-old military false flag conspiracy over the ongoing genocide is just like an insane, yeah, insane pull.